The fleet gently sways in the wake outside of the Boathouse Country Inn. It's 9 a.m. Saturday morning, early September, and the dive team meets up with Captain Wayne from Thousand Island Pleasure Diving. After setting up the gear, the team takes some time to relax on the deck of the Osprey and enjoy the beautiful weekend weather. On this trip, we are accompanied by two technical divers, Heath and Carol, who will be with us on charters the entire weekend. Bordered between the shipping channel on one side and Rock Island Lighthouse on the other, our first stop is the Vickery. The dive team plunges into the currents. The water is about 66 degrees. Elaine, our dive leader, waits for us on the mooring line so that we can descend into the depths together. The line is surprisingly long, and it winds beneath the shipping channel. Finally, we reach the underwater cliff and begin our final descent onto the port side of the Vickery. This wreck becomes alive upon approach, with different species of bass flitting in and out of every crack, and it's a pleasant surprise when Elaine directs my attention to the freshwater drums, most commonly known as sheep's head, directly off the bow. There are 270 species of drums worldwide, only one of which lives in Ontario. The Vickery is a beautiful wreck. It is 136 feet long, and when it sunk in 1889, there was no loss of life. She struck a shoal near the Rock Island Lighthouse while she was carrying bushels of corn to Prescott, Ontario. This wooden three-masted schooner is highly photogenic. The current can be strong, and it is important that all divers realize you must exit the wreck along the lines, the same way that you entered, lest you pop up in the shipping channel with a 1,000-foot-long freighter bearing down on you. Today we did penetrate the wreck. As always, safety is paramount when any diver decides to do so. Once inside, it was easy to fin the entire length of the ship. As we near the end of this dive, Jimmy and Elaine make their way to the bow for some photo opportunities near the windlass. We load back onto the Osprey, and Captain Wayne tells us that he has a special surface interval planned just for us. After a bit of travel, we pull into a quiet bay where we can see swimmers off on a distant shore. Oblivious to them are what looks to be 3 fair-sized wrecks in shallow water, a perfect surface interval for snorkeling in a 12-foot deep inlet. Carol, Elaine, and I take the plunge and explore the unknown skeletons. There are no big fish to be seen, but this site is clearly a nursery for baby fish, and they stay cautiously out of our way. After over an hour, the Osprey heads further downstream, and Wayne brings our attention to the Singer Castle upon approach. This hunting lodge was built in 1905 by Commodore Frederick Gilbert Bourne. An elaborate boathouse, towers, a workshop, and a powerhouse were assembled on Dark Island. The castle also boasts underground passageways and hidden corridors. The Singer Castle is near our next dive site, the America. On our way down the rope, Jimmy films part of the thick anchor chain. Back in 1932, this steel barge was attempting to drill into the bed of the St. Lawrence. Something went wrong, and the blasted rock along the side indicates there was an explosion. The America now rests upside down beneath the shipping channel. Carol and Heath work their way down and prepare to penetrate the wreck, while Elaine and I move into the current to explore. Tipping my head under the wreckage, I can see hundreds of fish that now call America their home. There are many highlights to be enjoyed, including the machinery that lies both inside and out of the wreck. Later on, the two tech divers explained that there was a lot to see inside the America as well. Dan and Jimmy stopped for some pictures near the smaller barge at the back of the wreck. There is oil under a layer of silt around the wreck. The dive team didn't encounter any during our visit, but if you're worried about buoyancy, be sure to keep well off the bottom to avoid coming into contact with the hidden oil patches. On the way back to the Osprey, we stop along the chain to get a good look at the anchor. Jimmy takes a few final pictures before heading topside. The America was a fun and interesting dive. It is full of fish and machinery to discover, and the dive team had a great time. Thank you for joining us this week on the Vickery and the America. We'll see you next time for another great underwater adventure.